Hello and welcome to this lesson where we will be looking at version control. And so we will be focusing on the Git distributed version control system. Okay, so Git is a piece of software that you install. And so after you have it installed, you use it to keep track or version the work that you do. So what do I mean by that? Well, I remember when I was studying and I had to uh, do my assignments, I do my projects. Um, I would, okay, let me go here. I would, for example, uh, have a directory where I kept uh, my work, and whatever code I was writing, I would write it. And if I needed to make major changes to my code, then I would make a copy of this. Okay, and then I would say, okay, I'm gonna call this version 2. Okay, and I will work on this one. If I mess this one up, I know I have this one that I can go back to. And so later on, I would complete what I need to complete with version 2, and then I would have to make another change, but I didn't want to mess up the code I had so far. So I would then make a copy of this. Okay, and call this version 3. Okay, and I would work on this project. And so you get the idea. After a while, your directory will end up with a lot of subdirectories. Quiz version 3, quiz version 4, whatever. Likewise, you've done this where you have some file. You work on it, maybe a book, and you decide, you know what, I don't want to touch everything I wrote yesterday. So let me make a copy of what I wrote. Okay, and then I'll work on this one. So if I end up having a bad writing day, I can throw this away and go back to the original. And you could do the same for a presentation. Actually, you could do the same for anything where you can edit it. Okay, so what Git does, Git is a version control system which does this kind of thing for you, but in a much nicer, more manageable, and easier format. All right, so in this lesson, we will learn about Git, we learn how to install Git, and we will learn how to use Git. All right, so let's get rid of all of that. Okay, so now that you understand the whole point of Git, let's first install Git. Okay, so let's install Git. So sudo update. All right. So before we install software, we update to make sure we have the latest links available to us, which links to the latest version of the software. Okay, so to install Git, I will simply say sudo apt-get install git-all. Okay. It takes some time depending on your internet connection. But when it's finished installing, we can then check to verify the version of Git that was installed. Okay, so I will simply say git space dash dash version, and we have version 2.35, which happens to be the latest version as of the recording of this video. All right, so there's a few things, a few configurations that we need to perform when using Git. And so the first one is to have a username, okay, to identify yourself as. So we say git and we say config. This is the command, git config. And we want this to be global, so we use the global flag, okay. And it's user dot name. So who is the username? Well, my name, okay. And here you'll put your name as well. So here is my name, okay. Make sure to put your name. Okay. All right. So we could also specify an email address. Git config global again, user dot email. Okay, and we don't need quotes for this one, so I'll just use my personal email. And you can put your email here. Okay, no quotes. Okay, and of course we can specify an editor as a default editor. All right, so if we need to open up any files, the default editor will be the one Git chooses. All right, and so we say core dot editor, and I will use Vim. Okay, so I want you to use Vim as well. Specify Vim. Okay, so these are all, well, there's one more. Let's do that. Git config dash dash global. And this one is init dot default branch. Okay, we'll be talking more about branches, but default branch, and we're going to call our default branch main. So in the past, when you were using Git, that first your first original work, it was called master. Okay, and of course in today's time, people are saying we shouldn't use things like master because it implies slave. So you'll notice that in the IT industry, anything that refers to master slave is being replaced. So for example, that's the reason why you don't hear people anymore talk about a master bedroom. They talk about maybe the grand bedroom or the biggest bedroom. They never say, they don't say master bedroom anymore because that implies being a master. All right. Likewise, in your hardware fundamentals course, when you talk about hard drives, it used to be there was a master hard drive and a slave hard drive. All right, if you had multiple hard drives. But that terminology should also have changed. So we don't say master anymore. We say main. So the main branch, or your original file, your original project, your original presentation. Right. And so to verify that we have these settings correct, we can just simply say git config dash dash list. Okay. And we have my username, we have my email, we have the editor, and we have how Git will call the main branch. Okay. All right. So let's navigate to the Git directory, okay? Because in this directory, I'll be showing you the examples, okay? So currently, there's nothing in there, all right? So whenever you want to, and I will use terminology that after a while you'll get used to it. So whenever you want to start tracking, okay, so I'll use the term tracking. Whenever you want to track some work, you have to actually tell Git that you want to track this particular work. So let's say, for example, program, or I'm building some application. Let's make a directory. Let's say I want to write a Go program. So mkdir, say basic. Okay, let's say cd basic. All right. And then I could say, okay, I'm going to make a main. Okay. And then I could create a Go mod init. With Darwin.net/basic. Go mod tidy. Okay, so I have my initial files, right? My initial code. Let's open this with Visual Studio. Okay, and let's just make a simple program. Let's just say package main. Let's say import fmt, and then in my main I will say fmt import. Okay, println hello cookie. All right, so I'm going to save that. Okay, and we expect it to run. Go run main. That go. All right, so it works. So I have my working code, right? It's in there. So I decide, you know what? I want to start tracking this thing using Git, because tomorrow I want to add more code, and then next week I want to add some more code. So I want to be able to see what I did today, or I want to go and see what I did on Friday, or let's say after 6 months, you wrote 2,000 lines of code, and now 6 months later you're saying, okay, it would be nice if I got to see the code from the first month. How much code did I write in the first month? What code did I write in the first month? Okay, and normally if you're not tracking your work, you wouldn't know. All right, so I want to track my work. I want to be able to undo changes. All right, so the way we tell Git to start tracking our work is by saying Git init. Okay, and I want to use this directory, the directory that we're in. I want you to start tracking it. Okay, so Git init. Okay, so it's initialized an empty directory. Okay, so if I type ls, you don't see any mention of Git there, right? However, if you look for hidden files, so ls.a for all files, you'll see that there is a .git here that was created. And it's this directory that has everything that is needed to keep track of your work. So if I were to peek in here and see what's in there, right, we'll see a bunch of things. We'll see branches, we'll see a config, we'll see a description, we'll see a head, and some bunch of other things. Now, we don't care about this, okay? So I just wanted to show it to you, but just remember, even though you don't see anything, Git actually is doing something for you. Okay, so after you have created your or initialize your Git, or you've told Git to keep track of this work, you can go ahead and tell Git which of these files you want to add, okay? Which of these files you want to actually keep track of, okay? And the way we do that is by saying git add, okay? Which of these files do I want to add? Do I want to add both of them? Or do I want to only add one of them? Let's add all of them, okay? And so I could simply say that. Add everything in this directory. If I wanted, I could have said add main.go space go.mod. Okay, but instead of typing all of that, I just say add everything inside. All right. Now, once I have told Go which things I want to actually track, now I have to do a commit. Okay, a commit basically tells Go, I want you to make a snapshot. Okay, I want you to remember my code at this very moment. Okay, I want you to give it a name. I want you to track it so that if I ever ask you for it, you can come and give me back the same code that I wrote, even though it's maybe 6 months later and my project now has 5,000 lines. I could still come back to this very moment. Okay, so git commit. Okay, and when you commit a piece of code, you have to provide a commit message, which is -m for message. And so in quotes, I can say initial commit. Okay, and then enter. And so notice it tells me 2 files changed. I had 12 insertions, right? Because I started out with an empty file and I wrote about 12 lines of code in between them. The go.mod has some and the main.go has the others, right? So notice it's keeping track of what I did. So you can think of this as a snapshot, okay? It's like it's frozen in time. And I could always go back to it when I need it. All right, so let's leave this there. So this is how I would start off with Git. All right, notice again, you have to tell Git that you want to create sort of a tracking mechanism. All right, and notice I'm using kind of vague terminology. As we go on further, I will start using the proper term that you might see in books or blogs concerning Git. But for now, we're supposed to get the idea. All right, so you tell Git that, I want to start keeping track of my code. So you have to initialize a Git repository. So you say git init dot. Okay, the dot represents the directory. After you've done that, and you've written your code or whatever, then you need to tell Git, okay, I want you to keep track of these things that I'm about to list. And so it's going to be git add and whatever you want to add and whatever you want Git to manage for you. And once you've done that, when you type git commit with an commit message, Git will go ahead and make a snapshot or make a history in a sense of your code. And so that code is sort of frozen in time. It has a name, it has an ID, and you could always go back and find what you did by asking for this particular code at this particular moment. All right, you'll get used to these commands because I will recommend that you always do commits every so often so that you can have sort of a history of your work, especially when things go bad. All right, I'll see you in the next video where we continue building up on our program and we use that program to continue building up on how to use Git. I'll see you in that next video.